Thank you, thank you. The following is one of my voiceover demos. If you're a voiceover artist and you would like to advertise one of your demos on my podcast, please send an MP3 to thedrill12, all one word, at gmail.com. That's thedrill12 at gmail.com. Back in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Caesar's Palace for 12 rounds of boxing. In the red corner, from Los Angeles, California, wearing the red trunks with the gold trim, weighing in at 125 pounds, the lightweight champion of the world, Danny Little Red Lopez. Well, Bill, our winners get a home theater receiver. That's right. Experience the full potential of high-definition video with this 72-channel digital home theater receiver from Yamaha. But wait, that's not all. They also get a 5.1-channel surround sound system from Mirage. With 5 palm-sized speakers and a compact subwoofer cube, the MX 5.1 brings you huge immersive sound with Mirage's omnipolar technology. All from the Spiegel catalog, Chicago, Illinois, 60609. And they're taking closer order as down the stretch they come. Mr. Hot Stuff has 3 lengths to make up with chocolate candy last. On the rail, take the points behind that gallant son with chocolate candy gaining on the outside. In the lead is Pioneer of the Nile being tackled by chocolate candy. They're neck and neck as they come to the wire. And Pioneer of the Nile holds off chocolate candy and wins the Santa Anita Derby. And now, on your feet, time to greet holder of 14 NBA titles, your home team, your Los Angeles Lakers. Number 3 at 6'8", 5th year out of UCLA, playing forward, Trevor Ariza. Starting at center, number 17 at 7 feet, 4th year out of St. Andrews High School, Andrew Bynum. And at guard, number 24, 6'6", 13th season out of Loyal Marion High School, Kobe Bryant.
Look, I voted for Hillary, even though I'm pretty sure the Clintons have killed dozens of people. And I'm okay with that. Right? It's the duality of man, you know? I like R. Kelly's music, but he's not going to watch my nieces. I'm not crazy about Kyle Rittenhouse, but he can watch my place anytime I'm gone. Say what you will, that motherfucker can house sit, boy.
Good morning. It's Friday, Cops Friday, August the 9th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day and the headlines, we will have the patriotic shorts, motivation, Bishop Barron, Ayn Rand, and the 33 strategies of war, plus the 400 things cops know. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Thank you. And now the headlines with Stuart Varney.
I will see you tonight on Marie Bartiromo's Wall Street. Wait till you see this interview I have with an AI clone. Oh, my God. I'll see you Sunday on Fox News as well. Varney and Company picks it up now. Stu, take it away.
I want to see that, Maria. I just want to see that. That should be
really
fun.
Funny.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Maria. There will be a debate, maybe 3. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump will attend a debate hosted by ABC on September the 10th. Trump wants 2 more. Harris has finally spoken to reporters for all of 70 seconds. She'd been taunted by Trump, who made a big deal over her failure to hold a press conference for over 2 weeks. Trump held one of his own. It was a 1-hour news conference from Mar-a-Lago. He said Harris wasn't smart enough to hold a news conference. He was combative, and he seemed angry at Harris's sudden move up in the polls. The media reaction has been predictably negative. The words rambling and meandering are 2 of the kindest words used. Let's get to the markets. Are we going to see a pullback after Thursday's very big rally? It's been a volatile week, and that is an understatement. The Dow up 680 yesterday, down maybe 90 this morning, at the opening bell, that is. Everyone wants to know if we'll slide some more as we head to the weekend. The S&P was up 2.3%. Today, it's down about, 20 points. That's it so far. NASDAQ was up 3%. This morning, down about 108 points. That's just a bit over a half percentage point. Will we slide further as we head towards the weekend? Don't know. We'll find out. Bitcoin rallying. It's over 60 grand at the moment. It's 60,500. Interest rates a little changed. The 10-year just below 4%, 394. The 2-year just above 4%, 403. Oil holding in the mid-$70 a barrel range, moving up a bit today, $76. No change for gas at $3.45. Diesel is down 1 cent, $3.77. On the show today, the Olympics. They're almost over. My opinion, Paris was a shining success. There have been notable controversies, but all were overshadowed by the brilliance of the athletes. Simone Biles, Katie Ledecky, Noah Lyles. He took the bronze in the 200 meters after testing positive for COVID. The 2028 Olympics will be held in Los Angeles. It's Friday, August the 9th, 2024.
And so that was Stuart Varney. So a couple of things. First of all, Harris goes ahead and gives her little so-called interview. But the reason she hasn't been interviewed is because she's unpopular. Nobody likes her. Nobody in the media likes her because she acts like a 6-year-old. The wheels on the bus go round and round. Who wants to report on that? Nobody does. Whereas if you look at Donald Trump, that he was reporting on Donald Trump's news conference, even though he gets savaged by the, and it's not even media, it is the communications end of the Democrat National Committee, even though he gets savaged by them, they love him. They flock to him. They can't wait to talk to Donald Trump because he's a very, very popular man. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Stuart Varney's My Take.
This week, Kamala Harris moved up in the polls. She rode a wave of Democrat enthusiasm. Oh, the media loves her. Well, Donald Trump stepped up to the plate to take on her rising popularity. He summoned reporters to a press conference at Mar-a-Lago. He delivered an angry, combative, sometimes meandering performance. In many ways, it was the old Trump. He doesn't seem to have worked out how to approach his new opponent, Kamala Harris, a woman of color. He said, quotes, "She's not smart enough to do a news conference," end quote. A week ago, he had called her dumb. I think that's dangerous ground. That's the old Trump. And so was his crowd size argument. He suggested the crowd on January the 6th was larger than the crowd watching Martin Luther King give his I Have a Dream speech. Who does that win over? He dredged up an old beef with Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, even though he needs to take that state to win the presidency. Why go after a fellow Republican? He was angry. One reporter asked why Harris was campaigning more than him. That's a stupid question, he said. That went to the heart of it. The Harris campaign is coming on strong, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. There will be a debate, September the 10th, hosted by ABC. There's history here. Trump had intimidated Hillary Clinton in one of their debates. That didn't go down well with women. He angrily interrupted Joe Biden, and he's widely considered to have lost that debate. In September, Harris will try to get under his skin, bring out the old Trump again. But at least it will allow Trump to ask the questions that Harris does not want to answer. He spoke to reporters for an hour Thursday. Harris gave them 70 seconds. The second hour of Varney is just getting started.
And anyway, so he's wrong about the whole thing. The whole thing is just so backwards. First of all, it's Trump that's popular because the media wants to be around Trump. They like Trump. They don't like Kamala Harris, and you can tell because they only gave her 70 seconds worth of time. All the rest of it is just fiction that he's creating here about the old Trump and the new Trump. There is no old Trump. There is no new Trump. Again, what it's about is 2016, he had headwinds. Everybody was against him. He had Republicans, Democrats, independents that were fighting him tooth and nail, and he still won the presidency. Now he has the wind to his back. So it's easy to be magnanimous or to be a little bit less combative when all the people that were trying to get rid of you in 2016 are now your friends here in 2024. People singing your praises and saying, I want my children to grow up in Trump's America, et cetera, et cetera. So he gets everything wrong. If he really wants to do some good opinion piece, why doesn't he do an opinion piece about the news media? He could do start with George Stephanopoulos. And what kind of coverage is George Stephanopoulos providing? What kind of questions are his so-called colleagues providing? When Donald Trump says that's a stupid question, it's true. The left has gotten rid of the stupid question. They shamed people into not saying that. They did this, again, decades ago, back in the 70s. They said, oh, you can't say that because children ask stupid questions, and you don't dare tell children not to ask stupid questions. So people quit saying that. So now the people like Stuart Varney, they will ask stupid questions and do it just to harass people. And again, Stuart Varney pretends that none of this is going on, pretends that the news media is not biased, and I assume that he's doing this because somebody got to him. Somebody pulled him aside and said, hey, you're too much down for the Republican Party. You're too much down for Trump. You need to even it out. You need to make it more fair. And he was scared to death of getting canceled and losing his lucrative multi-million-dollar contract. So he gave in. See, because that's what Stuart Varney's all about. He's the bloody tourist. He's not here because he's a patriot. He's not here because he loves the country. He's only here to get rich. That's my take. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, the patriotic shorts.
What a pleasant surprise. This morning's full of surprises, Leonidas.
You've been tricked. There'll be more than a few hundred of them. This is a surprise.
Silence! We heard Sparta was on the warpath. And we were eager to join forces.
If it is blood you seek, you're welcome to join us.
But you bring only this handful of soldiers against Xerxes? You see, I was wrong to expect Sparta's commitment to at least match our own.
Doesn't it? You, there. What is your profession?
I'm a potter.
And you, Acadian, what is your profession?
Sculptor, sir.
And you?
Blacksmith.
Spartans! What is your profession? See, old friend, I brought more soldiers than you did. This is where we hold them! This is where we fight! This is where they die! And these shield boys! Remember this day, man. It will be yours for all time.
And that was the Patriotic Shorts. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, a little bit of motivation.
Success is not a loud event. It's the work you do in the dark, when it's quiet, when nobody's watching, when there's no crowds, no one cheering you on. It's just you working on your craft. And in order to become the best version of you, in order to reach heights you have never reached, you got to put forth as much energy and as much effort as humanly possible.
It's like that quiet walk to the gym, like footsteps, some empty-ass gym late at night, over and over and over. Or as I sit there studying other great people and then comparing it with what I'm doing and looking at it, over and over and over, doing 20 minutes of quiet meditation a day, over and over and over. It's a very quiet process. It's not this big rah-rah speech where you do this one thing and something big happens.
We look at the best of the best, and what we think is these people were gifted, and that's the myth that society and the media sells to us. Actually, what made the great ones was what they did every day, their daily routines.
Habits are the building blocks of our lives. Not the goals or the grand schemes or the vision or the big idea. It's what you do every single day that matters more than anything.
Just focus on getting the job done every single day, whether you feel like it or not.
What I do is I focus on maybe 1 or 2 or 3 things at a time, and then I just do it. And then I get that done, and then I do the next thing. And then I get that done, and then I do the next thing.
I'm not the strongest. I'm not the fastest. I'm not the smartest. But I will work hard. I will be up when my competitors sleep. I will be up when my enemy is curled up in bed. I will be up getting after it.
You gotta get over your mind going, I can't do this, it's too hard and all that. You gotta push yourself through when you feel exhausted and say, there's a second wind in me, I'm gonna find it. But if you find yourself saying, I can't do something, I don't want to do something, but you know if you made yourself do it, you're gonna be a better human being, then you must do it. Don't hesitate, do it immediately. Some people say, well, that's not a very safe life. That's not a very secure life. If you want security, go to prison. If you want freedom, this is how you live.
Average people won't understand you. They don't get it and never will. The sheep will never understand the mentality of winners.
Why are you so antisocial? Because I'm trying to get it. Every time I text you and invite you to go do something fun and cool, you always studying because I'm trying to get it.
If you want to win, folks, you got to stand up and you got to say, I'm so sick and tired of being average and ordinary.
If you make that shift, I'm going to win. We're going to play to win now. We're not playing to play. We're not playing to see how we do. Once you start getting some winning, you start changing. You talk different. You walk different. All of a sudden, this isn't the same damn human being. You can change you. You'd be surprised what a little winning would do. You'd be surprised how good you'd be if you just decide to win. Be number 1 in your office, number 1 in your region.
The winners, they do whatever it takes to get the job done. They do it and do it and do it and do it until the job gets done. If you want to become somebody, do it. If you want to become financially independent, do it. Almost everybody can stay excited for 2 or 3 months. A few people can stay excited for 2 or 3 years. But a winner will stay excited forever.
The difference between winning and losing in life and everything and being a great leader and not, wealthy and not, a big business and not, making a difference and not is so small. What's the separator? They do exactly what everybody else does and one more. When they make 10 contacts a day in their business, they make the 10, they make one more. They read 1 book a month, they read 1 more. They do 30 minutes on the treadmill, no. They do 30 plus 1 more. They do 10 reps on the bench press, no. 10 reps, 1 more. When you set that standard, your entire life begins to shift and change.
You have to go the extra mile. You have to go all in. You have to quit leaving things up to chance. Real winners, they do every fucking thing that they possibly can, that they are in control of every single time, every single day, for a That's what separates you from where you want to be.
We tired of this 60% you. We tired of this complaining you. We tired of this version. Greatness is in you. You are here. You owe you an explanation. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, why are you only giving 50%? What's wrong with you? You here. Leave your doggone mark. So whatever you got to do, you do it. I ain't about to miss this opportunity. I'm about to give everything I got. And I will know if I don't get another gig, it won't have anything to do with the fact that I didn't put everything on the field. I need effort from you. I need you to match whatever effort the enemy is putting up. Whoever your enemy is, match the doggone effort. Every day I feel like driving in a nice car. Every day I feel like flying first class. Every single day of my life, I feel like giving 120. Every single day. I don't have days where I don't feel like it. Why? Because I'm counting on me. My wife counting on me. My son's counting on me. I don't have days to waste because I value myself enough to give 120% or don't do it because I owe it to myself. And can't nobody stop me but me. When you execute, when you sacrifice, there are no limits. Execute, execute, execute. Why? Because when you get results, you get rewards.
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, the Daily Stoic.
Steady your impulses. Don't be bounced around, but submit every impulse to the claims of justice and protect your clear conviction in every appearance. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 4.22. Think of the manic people in your life. Not the ones suffering from an unfortunate disorder, but the ones whose lives and choices are in disorder. Everything is soaring highs or crushing lows. The day is either amazing or awful. Aren't those people exhausting? Don't you wish they just had a filter through which they could test the good impulses versus the bad ones? There is such a filter. Justice, reason, philosophy. If there's a central message of Stoic thought, it's this. Impulses of all kinds are going to come, and your work is to control them, like bringing a dog to heel. Put more simply, think before you act. Ask, who is in control here? What principles are guiding me?
And that was the Daily Stoic. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Bishop Robert Barron.
Do you know how our culture puts such a premium now on safety, doesn't it? Safe spaces and keeping us safe, and I'm being threatened, and that's threatening my safety. Well, look, I mean, I get it. We all want to be safe. It's a value. But can I suggest to you that a religion that puts before our eyes a man pinned to a cross is not a religion putting a high priority on safety? The saints don't strike me as people that were really big on safety. Rather, find your mission. Let Christ come to life in you. Set your heart on fire. Become, in some way, and look, it's different for every one of us. Because the Lord gave us distinctive gifts and a distinctive experience and background. We're meant to carry his love into the world in some distinctive way. And then you'll know who you are. Do your mission. You'll find joy. And you'll transfigure the world.
And that was Bishop Robert Barron. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now the Ayn Rand thought of the day. Quote, the source of the government's authority is the consent of the governed. This means that the government is not the ruler, but the servant or agent of the citizens. It means that the government as such has no rights, except the rights delegated to it by the citizens for a specific purpose. And that's Ayn Rand from The Nature of Government from the Virtue of Selfishness. She's almost right. The government has no rights, period. There's no exceptions. The government has authority that is granted to it that it's authorized, and so in other words, authorized to do certain things. So it has authority that is granted to it by the people, not rights. Rights are absolute. Authority can be given and taken away. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now the 33 strategies of war.
Interpretation. Wilhelm Canaris was a devoutly patriotic and conservative man. In the earliest days of the Nazi Party's rise to power, he had come to believe that Hitler would lead his beloved Germany to destruction. But what could he do? He was just one man, and to raise his voice against Hitler would get him no more than a little publicity and an early death. Canaris cared only about results, so he kept quiet. And when offered the job of Abwehr chief, he seized his opportunity. At first, he bided his time, gaining credibility by his work in the Abwehr and getting to understand the inner workings of the Nazi government. Meanwhile, he secretly organized a group of like-minded conspirators, the Schwarze Kapelle, Black Orchestra, who would hatch several plots to kill Hitler. From his position in the Abwehr, Canaris was to some extent able to protect the Schwarze Kapelle from investigation. He also quietly gathered intelligence on the dirtiest secrets of high-ranking Nazis like Himmler, and let them know that any move against him would result in revelations that would ruin them. Assigned to prepare for Operation Sea Lion, Canaris doctored the intelligence to make England look much more formidable than it was. Assigned to investigate an invasion of Gibraltar, he secretly told the Spanish that to let Germany use their country would spell disaster. Germany would never leave. Hence Franco's alienating treatment of Hitler. In both these cases, Canaris exploited Hitler's impatience for quick and easy victories to discourage him from ventures that could have easily and irrevocably turned the war in his favor. Finally, in the case of Badoglio, Canaris understood Hitler's weak spot, a paranoid concern with the loyalty of others, and coached Aimé on how to appeal to this weakness and make a show of Italy's devotion to the Axis cause. The results of Canaris's work from the inside are astounding. One man played a major role in saving England, Spain, and Italy from disaster, arguably turning the tide of the war. The resources of the German war machine were essentially at his disposal to disrupt and derail its efforts. As the story of Canaris demonstrates, if there is something you want to fight or destroy, it is often best to repress your desire to act out your hostility, revealing your position and letting the other side know your intentions. What you gain in publicity, and perhaps in feeling good about expressing yourself openly, you lose in a curtailment of your power to cause real damage, particularly if the enemy is strong. Instead, the ultimate strategy is to seem to stay on the enemy's side, burrowing deep into its heart. From there, you can gather valuable information, weaknesses to attack, incriminating evidence to publicize. Here, subtle maneuvers, like passing along false information or steering your opponent into a self-destructive policy, can have large effects, much larger than anything you could do from the outside. The enemy's powers become weapons you can use against it, a kind of turncoat armory at your disposal. It is hard for most people to imagine that someone who outwardly plays the part of a loyal supporter or friend can secretly be a foe. This makes your hostile intentions and maneuvers relatively easy to cloak. When you are invisible to the enemy, there is no limit to the destructive powers at your command.
And that was the 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene. Back in a minute. Thank you. And if you're a Democrat, you want to vote Republican because the late modern achievement subject is free, in that it does not encounter repression on the part of sovereign entities external to itself. But in reality, it is just as unfree as the obedient subject. Once exterior repression is overcome, pressure builds within. Thus, the achievement subject develops depression. The violence persists unabated. It merely shifts to the interior. The stages of the topological transformation of violence are decapitation in the sovereignty society, deformation in the disciplinary society, and depression in the achievement society. Violence is increasingly internalized, psychologized, and thus rendered invisible. More and more, it rids itself of the negativity of the other or the enemy, becoming self-referential. Back in a minute. Thank you. So as far as news, I was listening to one of my older podcast episodes, and it was the Broken News segment. But I was thinking, as it caused me to think about, why is it that OANN, Max News, Fox News doesn't demand to get interviews with news figures? The politicians, it seems to me, are not the drivers here. It's not Joe Biden or Kamala Harris that are the real drivers of policy. It's really the news media. It's the news media that's telling these folks that we elected what it is that they should be supporting or not supporting. And they attempt to do the same thing with Donald Trump. However, up until now, Donald Trump has been, thankfully, resistant to that kind of thing. But why not forget about, I want an interview with Kamala Harris. Forget Kamala Harris. She's nothing. Okay, she has no opinions that isn't given to her by ABC, NBC, etc. Or as Rush Limbaugh likes to say, ABS, NBS, CBS. Anyhow, so sit down and demand an interview with George Stephanopoulos. Demand interviews with Coffee Joe, or whatever the hell his name is, and the other buttholes from CNN and MSNBC. Get Joy Behar to sit down for an interview by herself, not with her four henchmen, but by herself. Sit down and then grill the fuck out of these people. Why we could do that? So-called right-wing news media could be demanding and should be demanding that these people answer, since they want to be biased, they want to be part of the political mix. Then they need to be vetted. They need to sit down for interviews and be They need to be to have somebody grind them on these issues and find out how they figure that being biased is going to produce better news. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Chapter 2 of the book 400 Things Cops Know by Adam Plantinga.
Chapter 2. 18 Things Cops Know About the Use of Force. He which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made. William Shakespeare, Henry V. 1. Police use of force can be broken down into 4 categories. TT, trained technique. This means whatever you did was precisely what you were taught to do in the police academy. DTT, dynamic application of a trained technique. You followed your training, but things got a little freewheeling out there. Maybe you put something extra on your takedown and accidentally put the suspect through a glass-top table. It happens. UJ, untrained but justified. You bypassed the conventional method because the situation demanded it. Maybe you punched a guy in the groin because it was the only striking surface available to you. Or you took a bite out of a suspect's ear when you were both rolling around on the ground fighting over control of a handgun. I gouged another man's eye once because he was on top of me trying to take my baton away, and I thought with reasonable certainty that if he got it, he would try to beat me to death. It isn't ballet out there. It's an untidy business, and you do what you have to do. As the old quote says, anything worth fighting for is worth fighting dirty for. BSL,
Bizarre shitland. Perhaps inspired by the latest kung fu film, you went off menu and did something that no reasonable cop would even consider. This is when you explain your actions afterward to the shift supervisor, and he cocks an eyebrow and politely inquires whether you know any good attorneys. This is the arena where cops ultimately get disciplined, fired, arrested, and sued. It's not where you want to be. For some combatants, once they are hurt or cut, the fight is over. As a cop, you can never have that defeatist attitude. Getting injured is just the beginning, not the end. If you break your right hand, punch with your left. If you lose your baton, strike with your flashlight or your radio or a piece of brick from the ground. If you're fighting for your life, everything is on the table. Cheat, pull out that fifth ace, and keep swinging even if you're not connecting. Stay in the fight until help arrives. Don't ever give up. 2. Most people who fight with you are trying to get away. The fighting is a means to an end, namely, escape. Once in a while, though, you'll run into someone who isn't trying to get away at all. He just wants to throw down, or he wants to get in a gunfight. After a dust-up with such an opponent, your body is battered and aching, your uniform typically ripped, your pants streaked with mud like working man's pants after a dirty job. But the feeling you have when it's all over is one that combines satisfaction with the relief of having just escaped something. It's a sensation you want to bottle. It's one of the greatest feelings there is. When you get home after such a day, whether you won the fight or not, a cold drink tastes all the better because you've earned it. It's a tough job, my old partner Rolf Mueller liked to say, but that's okay. You wouldn't want something that was easy. 3. Getting a face full of pepper spray is like having barbed wire wrapped around your corneas, like a small army of demons burrowing under your skin and cackling at your misfortune. After the initial exposure, you have a second or two of, hey, what was that? Then, you tilt forward, head in hands, and moan. You hack like a 40-year-old smoker. You sweat. You burn. If you have contact lenses on at the time, kiss those suckers goodbye. And soon, all the mucus in your body, all the snot of your past, present, and future streams down the front of your shirt in long, glistening strands. Water provides only nominal relief. The only respite comes with fresh air and time, anywhere from 10 minutes to a few hours. I've been sprayed maybe half a dozen times on this job, both during training and as a result of the errant aim of my coworkers. I'd rather get shot than get exposed to that devil juice again. I'm completely serious. Give me a bullet in the meat of the thigh any day. 4. If someone fights you, you can't afford to lose. Assume they will try to take your gun and use it against you and your partner. Hit them as hard as you can. Make it the worst day of their life. 5. There are exceptions to every rule, but generally speaking, if a car driven by a fleeing felon is speeding right at you, you resist the temptation to shoot at it. First of all, your chances of disabling the vehicle with one bullet or even several are slim to none. The Drug Enforcement Agency helped illustrate this point by producing an instructional videotape where they had an agent roll up in a nondescript sedan, park the vehicle, and walk away. That sedan was then pumped full of bullets by other agents at close range. A total of about 500 rounds were fired. Everything from .357 shells to .223 rifle cartridges. When the agents were done shooting, the first agent got back in the car, which started right up, although it sounded a little wheezy, and drove away. So there you go. Second of all, killing the driver doesn't magically stop the car in its tracks. It just makes the vehicle pilotless. Best just to get out of the way if you can. 6. When you're in the middle of a fight, your adrenaline is pumping and you're feeling no pain. The problem is, the same is true for the bad guy. During one melee, I smacked a guy hard with my baton twice in the knee, and he looked at me as if I had just bopped him with one of those foam swimming pool noodles. Then, he punched me in the face several times, blows that, owing to the adrenaline, I subsequently did not feel. It went on like that for a while between the two of us. 7. The way tasers work is by shooting out a pair of electrically charged prongs that stick into a suspect's body, causing painful muscle contractions that typically drop the target to the ground with a newfound respect for the frailty of humankind. One press of the taser's trigger equals a few seconds of incapacitating voltage, which usually gives you enough time to move in and put on the handcuffs. Once the trigger is released, the pain stops. The taser is designed not to cause any lasting physical damage, and studies have shown it to cut down on both officer and suspect injuries that may result from a protracted fight. The news gets around quickly not to mess with the taser, or the shaka, as it's known on the street. You train the taser's red targeting light on a guy's chest, and a lot of times he'll give up right then and there. He'll do anything to avoid the voltage. He'll edge your lawn. But there are, of course, always exceptions. One of my co-workers told me about an incident where he zapped a 6'3", 260-pound drunk. The man shook his head as if brushing off a horsefly, and then tore the prongs right out of his body. "Is that all you got?" he bellowed. 8. People give off plenty of indicators that they're looking to fight. Some precursors are obvious, like the clenched fists and the readjustment of the feet into an attack stance. Others are more subtle, like the lowering of the chin to instinctively protect the neck, or the rigid setting of the jaw or brow. Some people dry their hands on their pants to prep themselves for an assault. Many of these indicators are reflexive. People don't even know they're doing them. They're tells, just like the tells poker players have. So it helps to pay attention to these signs and signals, because if you see them coming from the guy you're about to arrest, take your baton out and call for backup, because he's not going quietly. He's going to make you work for it. 9. In a scuffle, you try to use the techniques you learned in the academy, but the academy can't simulate street-level fights where tussles often end with everyone going down in a tangle, like that human pile in comics where the bad guy escapes from underneath while the cops fight each other in a cloud of dust. Officers have been known to accidentally handcuff each other in these types of scrums. 10. The Supreme Court decided some time ago that as a police officer, you're justified in using force one increment up from the force level you're facing. You don't have to wait to let a little resistance turn into a lot of resistance. In other words, you don't have to fight fair. You are legally entitled to give worse than you get. Generally speaking, this means that if someone threatens to fight you, it's appropriate to spray them with pepper spray. If someone shoves you, you may hit them. If someone punches you, you may respond with your baton. If someone goes for a knife, you don't try to roundhouse kick it out of their hands, you go for your gun. The reason for this one increment up approach is simple. Anyone who decides to fight with the police is automatically dangerous. The police have to win that fight. And you don't win a fight by being tentative or defensive. So it's ill-advised to punch your opponent and then step back and study the effects of your punch. It's bad practice to get in a boxing match. Situations deteriorate swiftly, so you're quick to go hands-on. And if you have to hit someone, you hit them repeatedly until they've stopped resisting and are under control. 11. The general public doesn't always understand use of force dynamics in police work. Maybe it's unreasonable to expect them to. Police departments do what they can to explain them, either through media channels or during periodic citizen police academies. But deep misunderstandings continue to drive a wedge between the cops and the public. Now, the public and the media provide police oversight. That's fine because cops carry guns, drive large cars very fast down busy streets, and take away people's liberty. You should have oversight. You also understand how people can criticize cops and their tactics without fully comprehending them, much in the way you might heap verbal abuse on your favorite NFL team's offense without ever having played a down of organized football. But it would be nice if the public and media sometimes gave you the benefit of the doubt. While media coverage of police brutality is commonplace, You rarely watch a news story about how officers took a violent suspect into custody using the minimum amount of force necessary, even though it happens every day. Because after all, what's interesting about that? That being said, you will see cops who have a knack for escalating even the most benign encounter into a fist fight. Maybe they got cut from the high school football team 20 years ago and they're still looking for payback. Or maybe they're young and unproven and think that if they are quick to shove some people around, they won't be perceived as weak. Whatever the case, they seem to want not just to arrest suspects, but to teach them a lesson, failing to realize that there isn't much honor in kicking a guy when he's already under control. But these officers are in the minority, which is good. Because roughing up suspects unnecessarily isn't just wrong, it's bad business. You can lose your job, be charged criminally, and become embroiled in a federal civil rights lawsuit. As a police officer, you have to be better than that. And most of the time you are, respecting the law even if the criminals don't. In the words of one Milwaukee police deputy inspector, you have to guarantee someone his constitutional rights, no matter how much of a puke he is. 12. The headbutt, if done right, is a showstopper. It feels like a bowling ball has just exploded into your skull. 13. In many careers, crucial decisions are deliberated in meetings with whiteboards and breakout sessions. Options are weighed. Exploratory committees are formed. Ideas are mulled over and then discarded. Gourmet coffee is consumed. Perhaps finger sandwiches are brought in from the catering joint down the street. The whole process can take hours, days, weeks. One of the most crucial decisions you make as a cop is shoot or don't shoot. Given how quickly situations can go all sorts of wrong, you will probably have about a second and a half to deliberate before you make this call. Critics have a lifetime to pick apart your decision over that coffee and those sandwiches. 14. Having to fight with women is the worst. You sometimes tend to go a little easier on a woman than you would on a man in deference to the fairer sex. And they make you pay for it. Their fingernails rip your flesh. They go for your eyes and groin. They spit on you and pull your hair. When you're a cop, all chivalry gets you is hurt. And in the public's eye, you always look like you're in the wrong when you go hands-on with women. Actually, some people's idea of police brutality is, to paraphrase a character from the television show The Wire, anytime the police win a fight. Such people take the peace in peace officer a bit too literally. It's as if they expect you to forego physical violence altogether and hand out demerits or pelt your foes with origami paper cranes. 15. Victims of physical violence sometimes say they got beat up for no reason. This happens once in a while, but unprovoked street assaults by strangers are rare. There's usually a reason. A racial insult, an uncollected drug debt, revenge for the victim having sex with someone's underage daughter. It's always something, just not something the victim necessarily wants to tell the cops. 16. In the old karate movies, they talk about never taking your opponent lightly. That's good advice. A skinny, untrained teenager can shatter the orbital bone of a man twice his size with a single punch. A victim who has been shoved can land wrong and break his neck on a street curb, or suffer a hematoma when his skull strikes concrete. Street fights have no padding and no regulations, and are typically fought over surfaces with little give, like the sidewalk. The results are bloody and unpredictable. 17. You'll get hurt on this job. It is a certainty. It is the cost of doing business. After 13 years, I've been socked in the face, kicked, and headbutted, had a chunk taken out of my right palm, and been hit by a car driven by a fleeing felon when I was on foot. During melees, I've sprained both my wrists so badly that I couldn't put on socks for a week, and smashed up my left elbow to the point where even years later, whenever I rest it on a hard surface, it feels like it's on fire. I've been black and blue from head to foot. My right ankle still makes unnatural sounds after I rolled it going over a fence in pursuit of a suspect. But my injuries pale in comparison to those of other cops I know who have wrecked lower backs and bulging discs in their necks from traffic accidents, who have sustained broken ribs from fights with combative suspects, who are convalescing after being shot multiple times in the chest during close-range gunfights, or who have had fingers bitten clean off by plumb-crazy people. You tend to get excellent health coverage with this job. That's good, because you'll use it all the time. 18. There's always someone out there tougher and stronger than you. You'll be dealing with graduates of the state pen who manage to get ripped even when prisons remove all weights from the exercise room. Guys who have practiced gun takeaway moves in the yard. Convicts who have been in the life a hell of a lot longer than you've been a cop. So you have to use teamwork. You have to be smart. So you call for as much help as you can, and if some citizen feels the need to challenge you on why it took 7 officers to take the lone suspect into custody, the answer is because 8 weren't available.
And that was Chapter 2 of 400 Things Cops Know, Street Smart Lessons from a Veteran Patrolman by Adam Plantinga. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there and reminding you that you are not neutral and that the government has no rights.